again for this and hide things I don't want to look at on my screen. So we have a game we play, and this game has random events in it, so you can't always predict what's going to happen. And we keep improving the game. It's built with something called NetLogo, which is agent-based software. And so there's a world, this black square is the world, and we put bacteria in there, cyanobacteria. So cyanobacteria are blue-green bacteria, and what this does is, I sometimes forget I'm running a video rather than the original program. So here, I'm going to pause this. So we have just created a little world here with 250 green bacteria and blue bacteria. Cyanobacteria we used to be called blue-green algae, but they're not algae. We have no viruses in here, but we can add new viruses at a certain rate that is defined in this code by the number 50. And the bacteria get a little bit of immunity. Some of them, when they get infected, die, and some of the bacteria become immune for short periods of time. The other thing we've done is that the green ones are more what you might call have a better survival rate. They actually reproduce 4 times faster. So for every 800 green bacteria, you get 200 blue, so like a 4-to-1. So you have vastly superior green to blue. And we're going to play a game. We're starting with 250 of each and see what's going to happen. So I've changed the starting conditions because Elise and I have gotten very good at predicting what's going to happen. So this is a new game for Elise. So I've got 50 being created periodically on a high rate, a very small amount of immunity, and a higher hatch rate. And before I run the video, do you have any predictions, Elise?
Well, because the immunity is so small, I feel like it won't have that much of an effect on the rate of infection. So I think green bacteria will use the reproductive advantage and take over the environment over the blue.
Okay, I'm starting the video, and here we go. So you see a few viruses popping up once in a while, and then they start to explode. As you can see, you start to see more reds, meaning that they infect and they start replicating more. So right there you can see we now have 400 reds. The yellows are not as many, and you can see the greens were taking off, but they started coming down. So why is it I'm creating equal numbers randomly of red and yellow, but I see very few yellow? Well, at this moment, no yellow. Why do you think that is, Elise?
That's because there's not as many blue bacteria to infect, right, so they wouldn't be as effective at infecting them.
So this is your lesson in social distancing. If you have fewer of the blue, so what the thing I didn't tell you is that red only infect green and yellow only infect blue. Okay, so green are totally immune to any yellow that come nearby, and blue are totally immune to any red. So since there are fewer blues, they're spread out more, and so the virus can't spread as much, so it doesn't seem to persist, and even a little bit of immunity keeps it from spreading. So you see very few consequences for this, but you see lots of red. So if we run this some more, Elise thought that the little tiny bit of immunity wouldn't make much difference. What do you think, Elise?
I think I might have been wrong.
So I changed the game, and look at that. The blue crossed over. So we have a slogan that we've read about called "Kill the Winner." when viruses spread in the highly populated, so if you're wearing your mask or keeping your distance and all your friends are piling into the bars and not paying attention, they're the ones who are going to suffer and you're going to be okay. And even though the green replicate at 4 times the rate of the blue, they're getting slaughtered here, okay? So what happens next? Now we have more blue than green. So blue is sort of the winner at this point. So Elise, what's going to happen next?
I think yellow is going to have an opportunity to infect.
So we have
the
lots of
populous
red
green.
and a little bit of yellow. And so we'll run the video and you can see things have turned around and we ended up with more yellows and we ended up with more blue. And as the yellows grow, they attack the blue. And so the winner up here starts to become the loser again. So we have a kind of, and notice I just speeded up this whole game. So we're not here all night. And so you can see this process going back and forth and back and forth. So both bacteria are being kept in balance. No one's disappearing or being extinct. No one's being driven to extinction despite one of them having a major survival advantage of 800 to 200. And so this process seems to go on and on and on. Elise, is this going to go on indefinitely?
Seems like it.
Because I have new viruses popping up all the time, so it keeps keeping things in check. If I didn't keep adding, and look how you see waves of red come flowing through there, and eventually you see some yellows in there also. So this just keeps on doing this, and hopefully before you all get bored, this video will move on to another example here. Yeah, stop it there. And let's change the game. And instead of creating new viruses, let's say we don't have any viruses at all. No viruses. What's going to happen, Elise?
Because nothing's going to keep the green bacteria in check, they're going to be able to completely use all the resources in this fake environment and take over the blue.
So when we started out, we didn't have experience. We might have said, well, there are 4 times as many, so you might be 4 times as many. But we now understand that if you've got a little advantage, and this happens to be a big one, but even if I made it 505 to 495, what Elise said will turn out to be true, that a little evolutionary benefit will give you an enormous advantage. So we're running this high speed, and you can see that the blues are being driven to extinction. So you're way past 800 to 200 right now. Pop is positive. And we're down to 33 blue bacteria. So the winner takes all. And we'll run this out to show you that they really do completely dominate. I'll move the cursor. You can see it takes, when you're not a lot left, it takes a little while for this to go down to nothing. But we're headed to total extinction of the blue because the green had an advantage. So we completely lose our biodiversity without there being any viruses to keep the green in check. So the blue are gone. So we'll set this up again and we'll go again. But now I'm going to play a game. I'm going to add viruses again. That's what I think I'm going to do. Maybe not. Maybe now. So what's going to happen now that I've let viruses come in? You went from the brink of extinction to a whole wave of green, nearly wiping out the blue. I'm sorry, a whole wave of red, nearly wiping out the green. And you get these wild gyrations until it stabilizes. And we end up back where we expected from before because it's the same case again. So viruses have beneficial effects in keeping biodiversity. And the other thing I'll point out is every time you drive the population down, there are variations in the offspring. And so the ones that are most fit, you'll probably get some evolution of the bacteria, not in our model, but in general. So now I have no immunity. What's going to happen if I have no immunity? Elise.
We'll see a lot of fluctuations because the virus will be able to kill all the bacteria, and then they'll come back and they'll get killed. And
so it's going to be wild, horrible. If you were a bacteria, this would be a miserable place. Look what happened to the green bacteria. Kill the winter actually killed them off completely. No green. They're never coming back. They're gone. And so the blue are trotting along here, being chased by a large number of yellow. What's going to happen in the end?
I don't know. It doesn't look too good for the blue.
So right now they keep coming back, but can they keep staying? And so my way of looking, look how close it came to extinction there. Up here, it never went that scary, but when it gets down that low, if it can get that low, then sooner or later it may wipe them all out. So with no immunity, I didn't know that was in the video. So this is why I pre-record this, so we know when to give up here and when to persist. So you can see that this has gone on a long time with no immunity. And basically, they're able to survive because they've been kept down in numbers. So that was that game. And what I just did was continued it some more with a lot more viruses available. And if there's enough viruses chasing them, it looks like things are chasing, but nobody knows what direction they're going. There, the game ended and everybody died. Everybody went extinct. When it looks like they're moving, things are just moving in random directions, and the bacteria are replicating and the viruses are infecting, and then they replicate, and everybody moves in random directions. But because the growth is in a certain direction, it looks like they're actually consciously chasing after things, but they have no way of sensing. It's purely random motions. So we've resumed the game, and I now changed this to 500 and 500, so they have equal probabilities, and no viruses, no immunity, and let this thing go. So what's going to happen now, Elise? No viruses ever, but equal numbers.
We'll probably see equal numbers for a long time unless at some point either the blue or the green find some advantage and they reach the capacity, and then you added some viruses, so you threw a wrench in it.
So they're very there's randomness, so they're not exactly equal. They do fluctuate. But while you were talking, I snuck in 50 viruses at a time, and so the whole game changed again to this wild situation once more. So this is the same game, but with 500 of each instead of the 8 higher rep rate. So I just want you to see the higher rep rate consequences there. So you see how chaotic it really is. Very wild things going on here. but everybody's surviving because there's some immunity, there's some viruses. And so it's not as nice as no viruses in this case, but it's survivable as a species level. So we're going to change the game again. No viruses there. And now I'm doing something terrible. I'll stop it for a second. I just put in 2,500 of red and 2,500 yellow, chasing 250 green and 250 blue. With immunity, a little bit of immunity, two steps in the clock. So now what's going to happen, Elise, I have no new viruses, just the 5,000 I introduced, and equal numbers.
I have a feeling that the immunity might be enough to protect until the viruses go extinct. But I've been wrong before, so.
We've all been wrong. That's why we call it a game instead of just a demonstration. So zero immunity. So you were right there. Zero immunity. Look at the wild things just crushing them. Here it is. In no time, with no immunity system, a set of viruses will just kill everybody completely. Nobody's left. And the viruses don't want to do that because they die too if they have no host. So an ideal virus is one that doesn't kill everybody off. So they're happy that there's some level of immunity to keep them going. And of course, when I say happy, we're just talking about evolutionary process. It's not truly happy. So again, I'll put in the 5,000 and let this run. No immunity. And this is the 800. And I want to show you something that happened. The green went away first. I had changed them. I gave them the 4-to-1 advantage. Even with the 4-to-1 advantage, Elise, why did they go away first?
Because there's too many of them. They were easy pickings for the red virus.
Easy pickings. They didn't practice social distancing, so they went from too many to just killed the winner off, completely extinct in no time. And because that means the blue are only reproducing at a low rate, so they never get the total number of bacteria never gets very large. Occasionally they spike up. So they have a little better survival chance because they're not spreading so quickly. But as you can see, this doesn't look very good. And that's the end of the game there. So no immunity, not a good thing. So we're going to play zonation. So I'm going to stop this. And here's the yellow sunlight up here. And here's the sea floor where you go and you die if you hit the bottom. And if you're in the lower half here, the darker water, bacteria don't replicate. Viruses, of course, if they infect something there, they can replicate. They don't need sunlight. So the closer you are to the sunlight, the more the bacteria grows. So this is a fancy model where the higher up you are, the more you reproduce. The lower down you are, down here, nobody reproduces except possibly viruses. So tons of viruses everywhere. They wiped out the bottom. They almost wiped out the top. And so Elise, we have no new viruses, no red or yellow viruses, and almost no green. What's going to happen? We've got a green hatch rate of 200. So we turned the tables.
Yeah, I think blue's just going to be able to maintain on top of the environment for a long time.
That's right. So there was nothing special about what color you were. It's just who we assigned a number to. So here's 800. And let's start again with 800. Okay, lots of viruses, 800. So you're trying to kill the winner, but you can't quite because you got this zone. The viruses don't spread. They're socially distant down here. Well, look what's happening is whoever's down here has a very little chance of being attacked by viruses, and the viruses are all gone. So you know what's going to happen, right, Elise? 800.
Yeah, I think so. I think the green's going to take over
Green's
slowly
going
but
to
surely.
win again. So hopefully I was smart enough not to drive this, to move it to the end here, because you've seen this, y'all are getting bored now. So we're going to change the game. And here's green on the threshold of winning and driving the blue to extinction. And I now added viruses again, but with zonation. So what's happening now?
Chaos.
So we got kill the winner up top where they're spread, where they're crowded, but down below, nobody's crowded. So this is a very no immunity. Normally with no immunity, you would think everybody gets killed off, but because it's a safe zone, and the ocean might have patches that are vertical or patches that are different local conditions where they're survivable and then they can drift back in randomly. So this is representing a more sophisticated model where it's very painful to watch all your relatives getting killed off constantly, but your species both are surviving. So we still have biodiversity here. We have both blue and green throughout this. So you can see the wild behavior here. We could, we didn't run the whole game out. We got a few more minutes, but we could stop here and
Yeah.
get back to the slides. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm ready to get back into the slides. I think
Okay, I think so
we've
too.
shown all the good parts of the model.
Okay, so I have to figure out how to do a new share for you guys, which is barely within my abilities.
Believe in yourself. Come on.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, so we're down here and fill the screen and you're up, Elise.
All right. So
I'm going, before you start, I'm sorry to interrupt.